Good day, everyone. I'm Rosalinda de la Cruz, and I'm the first reporter for this topic, ESL and bilingual education of teaching children. So, this topic cover what is ESL is, what is mean to be a bilingual, what is bilingual education, and how does it work, and what the advantages and disadvantages of bilingual methods in teaching children. So now, let's start our discussion. So first is, what is ESL? So ESL stands for English as Second Language. So ESL is taught to people whose native language is not English, but who live in the society in which English is the main language or one of the main languages. Next slide. ESL teacher work with the English language learners or ELL, or those students for whom English is not their primary language. ESL teacher work with the English language learner to help them acquire fluency in English, both spoken and written word. Next, what does it mean to be a bilingual? So, a bilingual person is someone who speaks two languages. Or, on the other hand, bilingualism is the ability to speak two languages proficiently. Next, advantages of being bilingual. So, according to Albert and Obler, 1978, bilingual have better auditory language skill. So, they can discriminate sounds of a language more finely than monolinguals. Second, they mature earlier than monolinguals in terms of linguistic abstraction. So they have the ability to think and talk about the languages. Next, simply being exposed to language is no guarantee that we will learn it. So if we are exposed to language input that we cannot understand much of what is said or written, this will be over our hand. In order for language learner to take place, we must receive comprehensible input. That is language input. This must be modified so that we can understand it. Next, according to Cummins, 1984, children's mother tongue is fragile and easily lost in early year of school. So next slide. So we may often see children on the playground who appear to speak English with no problem, but there are instances that when the children are in the classroom, they just don't see the grasp the concept. Many people fail to realize them. So many people fail to realize there are different levels of languages proficiently. Actually, they still needed time and assistance to develop their academic skills. So next, according to Dorney and Carmus, 1998, they find that the L1 is used by L2 learners as a communication strategy to compensate for deficiencies in the target language. So next, according to Erbach 1993, he also acknowledged the positive role of the mother tongue in the classroom. Next, what is bilingual education? So bilingual education refers to the teaching of academic content in two languages, in native and second language. According to Lateranton 2000, bilingualism in education looks at the pedagogical issues. When children speaking one language at home, inter-school system which operate another language. Next, according to Biligan, Klein, and Lateranton 1999, there are other studies available which look at how children growing up in bilingual families acquire both languages and how parents can help them to retain both. And another research conducted by Jinlan Tang 2002, he emphasized the idea that the L1 in English class helped the student to improve their L2 linguistic capabilities. So unfortunately, many people think that there is very room enough in which in a child as an adult brain for one language. And according to Hakutan 1986, contrary to the idea that two language confuse people, there is evidence that well-developed bilingualism actually enhances one's cognitive flexibility. So that is bilingual people, including children, are better able to think from two or more perspective languages. And next slide, to understand how people think. Slide, how does bilingual education work? So there are different programs model that can be used in bilingual education. So first is transitional bilingual education. So transitional bilingual education, it involves the partial or total use of the child's home language when the child enters school, and later a change to the use of the school languages only. So the goal of transitional bilingual education is to transition student into English only to classroom as quickly as possible. This is sometimes called early exit bilingual education. Next, maintenance bilingual education. So maintenance bilingual education, it is specifically created to maintain and improve a student native language as the student tries to learn a second languages. So next slide, the difference between ESL and bilingual education. So the biggest difference between ESL and bilingual education are, in bilingual program, the non-native English speakers all have the same language background, and the teachers speak both languages as a means of content instructions. And second, in the ESL classroom, the student came from various language background, and the teachers only speak English. Next slide, advantages and disadvantages of bilingual methods in teaching children. So first is advantages. Students become functional bilinguals. So or the student become their language learning journey, their destination is visible in their language teacher. The competence and confidence of the teacher as she move from L1 to L2 and back again is a clear model for the student to emulate. Second, never miss out on a lesson. So rather than being a hindrance, advocate of bilingual methods argue that the mother tongue of the student is the greatest resource in the language learning process. This is the particularly for those students over the age 7 or 8. When the mother tongue has been firmly established in the student minds, the bilingual methods allow easy flowing easy glossing of difficult word and efficient explanation of point of grammar. Time, time save and this matter optimizing learning opportunities. Third, accessibility. Student beginning the daunting task of learning and new language can immediately find a level of familiarity, avoiding the terrors that that deer in the headlights. Stages of acquiring new skills. Next, discipline. So, learning the local language can be surefire way to improve your behavior. Management skills expectation can be made explicit for from the beginning when you have when you have to learn the when you have when you have the ability to speak the student L1. It will also aid in ensuring smooth transition between lesson activities, ensuring best use in made of the time available. Next, teacher only use L1 in the classroom. Through by the bilingual methods implies that the student native language, it is important to know that its dominant leader teacher who make use of L1 this distinguish in grammar translation method which release more to on rote learning and the transition of text to bilingual methods focuses more on using the languages for oral communication. Students want be using their native tongue much in the classroom. Next, build a strong foundation for reading. So, the bilingual methods make use of the writing from the language. From the start, this allows students to begin to see the shape of bird as they repeat them orally. Next slide is advantages. First, focus on the grammatical structure, not on the day-to-day conversation. Second, the teacher must be proficient or fluent in L1 and L2. So sometimes it happened that the teacher English language is not the good rule in the languages. Third, students become dependent on their mother tongue. So it is the possibility that the few students in the class may be more attentive to mother tongue sounds and less attention to English sounds. As the result, their pronunciation may become defective. So that's all for today. Thank you po.
Good day, sir. I'm Rizal Julius J. Milio from Nilason Second, Puro Tarlac. I'm 23 years old and this is the continuation of report of Group 7. What is EFL? An EFL classroom is in a country where English is not the dominant language. Sabi po dito is ito yung mga bansa o lugar na hindi naman dominant ang English language. Example ng bansa is yung mga Nigeria, ganon, India, and China. Next is challenges of bilingual methods. Number 1, you need to be bilingual. Yes po, tama. Kailangan maging bilingual sa both language, sa native language, and dun sa target language. Number 2, student may become over-reliant on their first language. Di ba po may mga lugar na halos isa lang yung ginagamit na language at yung mga student is hirap sa ibang language. So dapat po maging bilingual o ang isang teacher lalo na sa ganong mga lugar. Number 3, you need to know what's up on their mother tongue. Yes po, kailangan alamin po natin ang kanilang mother tongue or yung mga nakasanayan nilang mga language. Next po is yung 3 ways to employ the bilingual method in your classroom. Number 1, use what is useful. Siyempre po, kailangan gamitin natin yung mga language na mas madalas nilang ginagamit para mas madali silang matuto or mas madali nilang maintindihan. Number 2, make a sandwich. Next is introduce new word or phrases in L2 language. Ano nga ba ang L2 language? L2 language is ito po yung nasasabi ng isang tao or natututong magsalita ng hindi nila language. Example, sa native language po, yung mga natututong mag-Ilocano, Kapampangan, Bisaya, ganun po. Kahit na Tagalog naman po sila. Next is yung give the idiomatic meaning in L1. Idiomatic meaning. Ito po yung mga trying hard magsalita ng hindi nila language para yun yung paraan nila para matuto. Ganun. Kahit na hindi nila masyadong maintindihan or mabigkas yung salita is ginagawa nila para po matuto sila ng language na pinag-aaralan nila. Number 3, repeat the new word or phrase in L2. Okay, yun na po. Tapos, number 3 po, combine written and oral exercises. Ayun nga po, ulitin lang po yung word or phrase sa L2 na banggit ko kanina. Next po is discussion on classroom. When should we use bilingual method of teaching in a classroom? Sabi po dito is, kailan ba dapat gamitin yung bilingual method of teaching in classroom? Siyempre po, gagamitin po natin yung bilingual method pag nasa ibang lugar tayo ganon or nasa ibang room tayo na may mga nakasanayang language ganon na magkakaiba ng language yung mga students po, ganun. Next bullet is how bilingualism help in a classroom discussion. Paano nga ba? Siyempre yung paggamit ng bilingualism sa discussion is sabay natututo yung mga student. Kahit magkaiba sila ng language at natututo pa yung iba na matuto ng ibang language. Parang kumbaga sa isang room, ganon. Gagamitin niya yung language na hindi niya alam habang nag-aaral siya ng language na yon. Gagamitin ng teacher yung language na hindi alam ng student para matuto siya. Ganun po. Next po. Discussion on teacher's response. First bullet. How bilingualism help in a ESL classroom. Sabi po dito, few bilinguals want as proficient in any second language as they are in their first language. This research aims to determine the implication of bilingualism in ESL classroom. Ibig sabihin niya is para mapalawig ang bilingualism sa mga ESL classroom o naglalayong matukoy po yung implication sa mga ESL classroom. Next po, next bullet, how bilingualism affect the instruction of teacher. Save time by explaining how to do activities in the native language of the students. Next po is yung discussion on student response. Discussion on teacher's response po pala yung next ko. Why it is not suggest to use only the target language in order to grasp L2 better. Bakit daw hindi na lang yung target language ang gamitin para maintindihan ang L2? Bakit nga ba? Sabi po dito is, syempre po, para mas madali silang matuto sa language na inaaral nila. Next bullet. Why bilingualism brings practical advantage to the learner. Sabi po dito, Bilingual education may help limited English proficient students keep up in other subjects while they learn English. Sabi po dito is, yung bilingualism daw is makakatulong na matuto yung mga students na hindi masyadong marunong mag-English or English. Next po is yung discussion on student response. First bullet, usefulness of bilingualism for the students. Yes, tama po. Bakit? Siyempre po, ang paggamit ng bilingualism is malaking tulong sa mga students na mahasa sa Ingles. Tulad natin, di ba? Mga Tagalog tayo, may mga Kapampangan, mga Ilocano, pero dahil sa bilingualism is natututo sila o tayo magsalita at umintindi ng English. Next bullet is a monolingual teacher better or the bilingual teacher. Sabi po dito, all the students speak the same first language and they are all learning English. Next po, discussion on teacher's interview. First bullet, almost the teachers say that bilingual is very useful. Yes po, halos lahat daw po ng teacher is nagsabi na useful yung paggamit ng bilingualism. Siyempre po, alam po natin yan na useful talaga yung paggamit niyan kasi mas maraming natututong mga bata. Next bullet is, it is good to balance the use of L1 and L2 in classroom discussion. Yes po, tama. Sa tingin ko po dito is para mas madali ma-pick up ng mga students yung mga topic or pinag-aaralan, pag-balance yung paggamit ng L1 and L2. Next po is yung discussion on teacher's interview. First bullet, bilingualism are also serve as the bridge for the teacher and the learners. Sabi po dito is yung bilingualism daw is ito yung nagiging tulay para mas mabilis matuto at makapagturo yung mga teacher. Yun po. Next bullet, they believe that the use of bilingualism in ESL classes proved to be fruitful for a productive reaching lessons. Mas magiging, sabi po dito sa bullet na yun is, mas magiging maayos daw yung pagtuturo. Ayun, mga nasabi ko kanina, ayun na rin po yung ibig niyang sabihin. Next is the conclusion. Babasahin ko na lang po ito. The use of bilingualism has an important role in teaching and learning L2. The use of the L1 proves to make some complex phrases or idiom from L2 can be explained easier by the help of L1. Next is the use of bilingualism does not affect the motivation of the student. Use of bilingualism does not affect the capacity and exposure to communicate with L1. That's all, sir. Thank you po. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.